To Minnesota now, in a growing trend, members of the Somali community in the state are being found responsible for multiple cases of welfare fraud, totaling more than $1 billion in stolen funds. The U.S. Attorney's Office of the District of Minnesota detailing just one of many investigations. Here's a quote. It says this: as set forth in the charging documents, the defendants devised and carried out schemes to defraud federally funded health care benefits collected within Minnesota's Housing Stability Services program. The HSS program dates back to July 2022, when Minnesota became the first state in the country to offer Medicaid coverage for housing stabilization services, HSS. The program was designed to help people with disabilities, including seniors and people with mental illnesses and substance use disorders, find and maintain housing. Rather than provide such help, the defendants obtained and misappropriated millions of dollars in program funds that were intended as reimbursements for services provided to those people, end quote. So one of the groups experiencing the disastrous effects of this oversight is the Minnesota Police Department. Now, since 2020, the state is seeing the department's numbers fall drastically, now finding themselves nearly 1,000 officers short. We'll talk about why that is with Mark Ross, president of the St. Paul Police Federation. Great to see you. Thanks for coming on at a time where obviously this fraud scheme investigation is still ongoing, but I want to pull back to the police department. What factors or which factors led to the initial shortage of policemen and women back in 2020 versus the low recruitment today? What happened?
Glad to be here. Good morning. Well, it started really post-2020. Post-Floyd was when we saw just a wave of officers leave the profession for a lot of reasons. It was just too much to handle. The expectations became unreasonable. Officers didn't feel as though they were supported politically. A lot of them didn't feel like they were supported by their police departments. And here we are today, fighting tooth and nail for every dollar for our budgets. And Minnesota is a national embarrassment, and it's disgusting that this amount of money has been fraudulently stolen from taxpayers and really due to no oversight. But I would say post-20, this profession has just become less attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah, so you're hit not once but twice. So what happened after post-George Floyd, which we covered extensively here on this network, and then also the oversight of the money. And that gets me to the governor. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz holding a press conference addressing the rampant fraud. He had this to say, I'll read it to you. We are a state that chooses not to let people go hungry or homeless or uneducated. However, that generosity has been taken advantage of by an organized group of fraudsters and criminals. Minnesota's longstanding high standards of integrity of public funds go hand in hand with a culture of generosity. You can't have one without the other. So he talks about generosity when the American taxpayers are being ripped off. He doesn't mention about policing. Does that trouble you?
Well, first and foremost, that level of indignance is disgusting. He takes zero accountability for any of this. And it really started with oversight. And then once some of these things began to come to the surface, the legislative auditor did an investigation. They determined that the state didn't want to litigate this, and they feared poor negative media exposure. Our state attorney general investigator found that there might be a political fallout if they were to pursue these fraudulent issues. But yeah, again, let's talk about law enforcement. We have the people in place to investigate these things. What I'd really like to know from this investigation is who knew what and when. When did it reach the governor's office? Because he has taken zero accountability. I know in our profession, we are held to a very high standard, as we should be. We are accountable for everything that we do, both good and bad. That's the way it should be. But I don't know that anybody at the state level, specifically some of his commissioners, have been held accountable for this. It's disgusting.
When you hear the statement, the buck stops with me, that wasn't obviously said by the governor, but that is the way that literally every constituent feels in terms of their mayor, of their governor, of any politician that's elected into office, that the buck would stop with the state leader, the fraud happening in that state. What needs to be done about that in terms of the governor, his leadership? What do you see happening?
Ultimately, this is up to the voters, and I think they need to pay really close attention to how these investigations shake out. It's going to take a long, long time to figure out when and where and how all these fraudsters got going, and it's going to take time to figure out who knew what again and when.
Yeah, because Mark, remembering he was a VP pick. I mean, he was second. He was this close to being second in command of the nation, but yet failing on this front. It's such a catastrophe.
It never should have happened, and I believe he bears a ton of responsibility for this. And we'll see what the voters do. If I were him, I'd be extremely nervous come this November. We shall see. I've heard rumors that some folks in his own party are starting to maybe look at other options. We shall see. There's a couple great Republican options in the state of Minnesota, but the voters are ultimately going to decide. This should incense them. Okay, these are tax dollars. This is Minnesotans' money that was wasted. It's gone. We're never going to see that money again. It's overseas. They've tied it up in houses, cars, you name it, and it's gone. Minnesotans, frankly, deserve better. And from a public safety perspective, like I said, these are dollars that could have gone to recruitment retention for cops. We are working so hard to maintain people in our profession and recruit new people. What we could have done with that money is astonishing. And as another note, there are people that are deserving of these services that probably went without. And that's sad also. That never should have happened. There are people, some of these programs actually are excellent programs, and there are people that went without the services they needed because of this.
Mark Ross joining us on that. He is the president of the St. Paul Police Federation. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you.